The last one I've got for screeners is Seven Veils by Atom Egoyan. I think I said his name right. I've seen him forever. I always want to say Atom Egoyan, Egoyan, or whatever. I think it's Egoyan. And even though I've seen quite a few of his movies, and he's a very famous indie director from Canada, I do believe. I don't know if I've ever figured out how to say his name. Famously, I guess he has got a lot of movies, but the ones I've seen are probably kind of his big hitters, the ones that have got a lot of more press, I think, than some of his other movies. I've seen Exotica, and that was back in the 90s, I want to say, and The Sweet Hereafter, which I believe for me was been the favorite thing I've seen by him, including this movie. The Sweet Hereafter, I remember being really good with Sarah Polly, I do believe, and Chloe, which I think he made in the mid teens. Yeah, I think he did. I could be wrong about that. With Amanda Seyfried, Seyfried. Never know how to say her name either. He made Chloe with her, and she's in this movie as well. So anyway, this Atom Egoyan movie, and this basically takes place in the opera in Canada, and they're basically remounting a production of Salome, which is, of course, the story of the woman who got John the Baptist's head and blah, blah, blah. And you can look up the whole story. But luckily for this movie, as part of the exposition that occurs, they kind of give you a recap of what the basic story of the opera is. Because if you're like me, you're not an opera fan, you're not opera literate, you would not necessarily know what this is about. But you may have heard about the Dance of the Seven Veils, which of course is part of that story. So Jeanine is Amanda Seyfried. Clea is Rebecca Lydiard, and then there's a bunch of other people in here as well. I'm not going to list all the actors. Let's just say the basic concept of this is Jeanine is remounting a production at this opera company of Salome. And they're doing it kind of in honor of the longtime producer who did a bunch of operas there and who's passed away, right? And his wife, as part of a tribute to him, wants to make sure that, you know, they remount this one of the best productions he ever had. And Jeanine had been one of his proteges, and to bring her back to do it would be like this kind of this great honor, right? And as part of this, when she's back there, she starts to kind of relive her past and some of the dramas that she had because basically she had a fling with this guy who's now dead. So she's reliving that, and then whether she can be, famous and whether she can produce the thing he produced and make it her own, or whether she's constantly had to be in the shadow of his way that he did it and people telling her how she has to do it versus how she wants to do it. That's part of it. There's various subplots about her being on a break from her marriage. There's subplots about how her father may have had some really inappropriate training of her into the world of opera and possibly some kind of abuse of her to get her to that point of fame when she was a child. And there's a lot of hints there and how she's dealing with those memories and how those informed the original production of Salome and how they informed this production of Salome and how she's working through her demons by making something. Now, there's the subplot of a woman who's making the fake head they use in the opera and how that's a whole subplot of her relationship with the new divas that are in town do this production of this opera. Okay, does this sound melodramatic? You kind of like rolling your eyes, or what are you talking about, Bruce? What is this movie? What is this? Well, it's pretty melodramatic, but I mean, I guess that isn't wholly inappropriate if you're watching operas and you love operas. Once again, as a non-opera fan, this is my outside view of operas. My feeling about operas is that they are very melodramatic. That's kind of part of the form, part of the art form. It's everything's bigger than life. The emotions are bigger than life. They're singing about the emotions that are bigger than life. It's very dramatic lighting and artistic interpretations, reinterpretations of classic things done in a new way. And, you know, everybody's, really into their artisticness. So I think that there's an element of that here that's mirroring the kind of stuff you see in opera happening behind the scenes being really that way. And it's also people, feeling themselves as artists with capital A's and the most, we are artists. Look at what we're doing. There's lots of voiceovers and like they're doing podcasts, talk about, what they're, how they're interpreting it and how important this is and how blah, blah, blah. So I guess to some degree it could be somewhat of a satire of that world, but I don't think it is. It doesn't really feel like a satire to me. It feels like it's taking itself pretty seriously, as seriously as the people inside of it, which is melodramatic in its own right. And I guess you're getting the impression, right? Like, does Bruce like this or does he not like this? You know, I don't really like it. I guess for me, it's really overwrought. Everything is very, and once again, I get it. I know this is part of the scene and is part of the point of the movie, but I don't really enjoy opera in on its face most of the time. And I'm kind of weird. I like musicals. I'm someone who does enjoy musicals, but opera never has really quite worked for me. It's something about the artifice of how it's presented and like the overblown nature of it. And the actual movie behind the opera in this is kind of the same. It doesn't it just everything seems very obvious. That's that way to put it. So she's supposed to be discovering her hidden demons and also presenting maybe unknowingly a lot of the drama that she's working through by the way she's acting out against the people in this production. And she's kind of becoming this very overtly aggressive producer and just like pushing people in ways that are just kind of unreasonable because she wants to get her vision on screen, that kind of a thing, get her vision on the stage. And of course, by doing that, she's unleashing the true inner issues that she's having about her past with the old producer and with her father. You get it? It's kind of like, okay, I get it. Ooh, and how does it like mirror the story of Salome? You know? So to me, it's all very, very like eh, metaphor with a capital META. It's very, very in your face. And that just didn't work for me. Not terrible. Everyone does a decent job. I mean, it's well produced, like the opera, well produced. In fact, I think they even use actual opera people. They must because they're great singers. And they have footage from the actual older production of that actual opera and then this production of that actual opera. So there's some meta aspects there that are okay. But overall, I just wasn't very entertained by it, so I can't really recommend it. But it's not terrible. It's not like a 1 star or 2 star. I'll probably like a 2.5. That's like the very middle of the road. Like this one absolutely depends on your love of opera and over the board, overboard like kind of like narratives. You might just go head over heels over this, and I could see that happening for some people. But boy, oh boy, for me, it's a flat line 2.5. 2.5.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. For more movie and television reviews and interviews, please subscribe to my Deepest Dream channel, like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, thanks so much for your support. Take care.